It starts with a quiet moment. Maybe it's a Tuesday night. You're sitting on the couch with the TV on in the background, just scrolling through your banking app on your phone. You're not really looking for anything specific, just that habit of checking, making sure there's no weird charges, making sure the rent cleared. And then, you swipe over to the savings account. You see the number, and you have to do a double take. You refresh the page, and the number is still there. It hits you differently than it did when you had $5,000 in there, or even $50,000 when you were starting out. Every deposit felt like trying to fill a bathtub with a spoon. You were working so hard just to tread water. But this, seeing $250,000 staring back at you, it feels heavy, but in a good way. It feels like gravity. My name is Jack, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly build wealth while others stay stuck in the same financial patterns for decades. I've been obsessed with this specific threshold, the $250,000 mark, for a long time, because I think it's the most misunderstood milestone in personal finance. Everyone talks about the first $100,000, and sure, that's the hardest. Everyone talks about being a millionaire, but nobody talks about what happens in the middle. And honestly, that's where your life actually changes. Today, I want to break down exactly why your life changes after you save $250,000. It's not just about buying a nicer car or going on a better vacation. It's a fundamental rewiring of how you view risk, how you view time, and how you view yourself. We're going to get into the math, yes, but we're also going to get into the psychology, the strange social shifts that happen, and why this specific number is the point where you stop playing defense and start playing offense in the game of life. So, let's dive in. The first thing that changes, and it's the most tangible one, is that the math of your life shifts. For the vast majority of your early financial life, you are the engine. You are the horsepower. If you don't work, the car doesn't move. You save $500 here, $1,000 there, and it feels like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill. You put money in. The market goes up a little. The market goes down a little. But really, the bulk of that growth is coming from your sweat equity. But somewhere between $100,000 and $250,000, a ghost appears in the machine. Let me give you an example. Let's say you manage to save $20,000 a year. That's a great number. For most people, that's a lot of sacrifice. In your first year, if you start from zero, your account balance is entirely made of your sacrifice. If the market has a flat year, you made $20,000. Good job. Now, fast forward. You've grinded. You've lived below your means. Maybe you got a raise or two, and you've hit $250,000. You're still adding to it. Maybe you're even adding more now because your income has gone up. But let's look at what the money does while you sleep. If we assume a very conservative, long-term average return of 7%, which is what you might expect from a broad index fund over decades, that $250,000 is going to generate $17,500 a year on its own. Just sitting there. Do the math on that. That's roughly $1,450 a month in passive growth. Think about that. That's a mortgage payment for a lot of people. That's a car payment. That's groceries for a family. The most profound realization at $250,000 is that your money is now starting to earn more than you probably could in a part-time job. And it's doing it without you lifting a finger. I remember the first time I really saw this happen in my own accounts. I was looking at a yearly statement, and I saw the dividends and interest line. For years, that number was like $40, $80, nothing. It was insulting, honestly. But this year, the number was significant. It was four figures in a single quarter, and I had this weird moment where I thought, I didn't do anything to deserve that. I didn't wake up early for that. I didn't sit in traffic for that. That is the psychological turning point. You realize that the system isn't rigged against you. The system is actually working for you, provided you stay in the game. This changes how you feel about going to work. When you go to work on Monday morning, and you know that your net worth is going up by $50, $100, $200 a day regardless of what your boss says to you. It changes your posture. You walk a little taller, you're less desperate, and that energy, ironically, usually makes you better at your job. The second major shift is psychological, and it borders on spiritual. It's the death of the oh no moment. You know what I'm talking about. That sudden, cold sweat moment when you hear a strange noise in your car engine. Or you slip on the ice and your phone cracks. Or you get a letter from the IRS. For most people, that's a trigger for a panic attack. It's not just about the money. It's about the chaos. It's the feeling that the ground is unstable beneath your feet. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, or even when you have $5,000 saved, a $1,000 emergency is a crisis. It disrupts your life. You have to pull money from your vacation fund, or you have to put it on a credit card, and then you spend the next 6 months paying off the emergency, which just puts you further behind. It's a vicious cycle. But at $250,000, the rules of engagement change. Let's say your transmission blows up. That's a $4,000 problem. When you have $250,000, a $4,000 problem in a crisis. It's a transaction. It's an inconvenience. You write the check, you fix the car, and you move on with your day. You don't lose sleep. You don't have to call your dad to ask for help. You don't have to skip date night next month to pay for it. This sounds superficial, like it's just about convenience, but it's actually about brain bandwidth. There is a concept in psychology called scarcity mindset. When you don't have enough, your brain devotes a huge amount of processing power to worrying about resources. It literally lowers your IQ. You can't focus on your career, your relationships, or your health because a part of your brain is constantly screaming, "Watch out, we might run out of money." Crossing the $250,000 threshold turns that volume down. It doesn't mute it completely. Fear of poverty is a hard thing to shake, but it creates a massive buffer. I've noticed this in myself. I used to agonize over subscription services. Do I really need Netflix and Hulu? That's $25 a month. Now, if I see a charge I don't like, I cancel it, but I don't stress about it. The mental energy I used to spend worrying about $10 decisions is now free to spend on $10,000 decisions. Or better yet, on non-financial things like my health or my creative projects. This is the hidden luxury of wealth. It's not the stuff you buy. It's the absence of stress. It's the feeling of being safe. And honestly, once you feel that safety, you realize that's all you ever wanted. You don't need a yacht. You just need to know that if the yacht sinks, you'll be okay. This brings me to the third point, which is probably the most life-changing aspect of hitting this number. It changes your relationship with your labor. Most people are trapped in their jobs. I don't mean trapped in a dramatic, chained-to-a-wall sense, but trapped economically. They have a mortgage, they have car payments, they have lifestyle inflation, and they have exactly 2 weeks of savings in the bank. That means they cannot lose their job. If their boss is abusive, or the company is unethical, or the work is just soul-crushingly boring, they have to suck it up. They have to smile and say, "Yes, sir," because the alternative is ruin. This power dynamic poisons your soul. It makes you compliant. It makes you settle for less than you deserve because you are afraid. $250,000 changes the equation. Let's look at the 4% rule, which is a standard retirement planning metric. It suggests you can safely withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year without running out of money. 4% of $250,000 is $10,000 a year. That's not enough to retire on, obviously. You can't live a life of luxury on $10,000. But here is the kicker. $10,000 is enough to live on if you are desperate. Or, more realistically, it's enough to cover your basics for a significant chunk of time while you pivot. If you hate your job, $250,000 buys you a runaway fund. It buys you the ability to quit your job today and spend 6 months, or even a year, looking for the right role without panic. I have a friend. Let's call him Dave. Dave was in a career he hated. I mean, he would come home on Fridays and just stare at the wall for 2 hours. He was burned out, depressed, but he was making good money, and he had a golden handcuff situation. He felt he couldn't leave because of his lifestyle. Then he hit the $250,000 mark in his investment accounts. Almost immediately, his personality changed. He started speaking up in meetings. He started taking calculated risks. Eventually, he did quit. He took a lower-paying job at a nonprofit that aligned with his values. He took a pay cut, but because he had that $250,000 foundation, his actual quality of life went up. He was happier. He was freer. That is what I call walk-away power. It's not about retiring early. It's about having the optionality to work on your terms. When you know you could survive for 2 years without a paycheck, you carry yourself differently. You negotiate harder. You set boundaries. You stop tolerating toxicity. And paradoxically, people respect you more. We are naturally attracted to people who aren't desperate. Here is a part that nobody really talks about because it can feel a bit uncomfortable. When you cross $250,000 in liquid savings, your relationship with your friends and social circle starts to shift. It's subtle. It's not like you suddenly start wearing a monocle.